Have you ever wanted to learn how to make chili jam? I'm going to show you my method and you're going to absolutely love it. It's foolproof and easy. First up, let's talk about the stars of the show, your chilies. Now, for this recipe, I would recommend using cayenne. Cayenne are just such a versatile plant. If you are growing chilies, they have a good little bit of spice, but they are just so delicious. And yeah, you can use them in so many recipes. I like this one. Now, the heat level, it's not ridiculous, but we are making jam here. We're not trying to blow your head off. However, if you do want to make the jam a little spicier, go ahead, add in something like habanero, or if you really want to push the envelope, maybe something like a 7-pot primo, or prima tale even. But if you are going to do that, just remember you're going to have to make some adjustments to the recipe just to make the balance right. So we've got cayenne. Now you might notice that some of these are ripe and others are dry. Now, I had a bit of a disaster in the garden about 3 weeks ago. Thankfully, I was able to save some of these pods. They actually ripened up off the plant and I'm going to be using them today. But there's another reason why I'm using the dry ones, to show you that you can use dry chili pods with this recipe. So if that's all you can get a hold of, or maybe you're saving a bunch during the summer and you want to make some jam in the winter, dry them. Perfectly fine for this recipe. We're using about 300 grams of chilies. If you're just going to use dry, you'd use probably about 80 grams of chilies and then make up the rest of that 300 grams with water. So 220 grams or 220 milliliters of water. Blend that all together and yeah, use it in this recipe. So just keep that in mind, but you can use dry. Next up, we have ginger. This stuff is amazing. I use it in so many different recipes. All we're going to do is peel it with a spoon. One of my subscribers left a comment telling me how to do that with a spoon, and it's changed my life. Thank you very much. You're going to use 10 cloves of garlic. You can use maybe 12. I wouldn't go too many more than that. Going too strong with the garlic can affect this. This is a jam, not really savory, but you do want garlic in here. The garlic and ginger working together, just perfect. This here is jam sugar. Jam sugar is just normal sugar that has pectin added. If you want to buy a bunch of pectin, which I have over here, it's just I happen to have a bag of this. If you are going to use normal sugar, then 15 grams of pectin to 1 kilogram of sugar. And it's basically the same stuff as what we have over here. The only other thing that's added in here is citric acid, but I'm going to be using citric acid anyway. Even though we do have it in here, I am going to be adding a little bit more. It does a few things. One is it helps the pectin set, but also it helps keep that vibrant color that we're going to get from this. So we have some white wine vinegar. You can see that lovely color there. I love white wine vinegar. Definitely works well with this recipe. You can use a distilled vinegar or a white vinegar, something plain like that if that's all you have. I wouldn't necessarily go with malt vinegar. I didn't really like the flavors too much there, and also darkens it quite a bit. This here adds a lovely golden color. It keeps the golden color that you're going to see a little bit later. The very last thing we're going to add is some salt. I'm just going to use some 100% sea salt, but honestly, it doesn't really matter which salt you want to use, just whatever you have available. I was talking earlier about adding more spice to this, but what about those of you that like a little bit less spice? What you can do is go half-half with the chilies, with half cayenne, or jalapeno if you want, or Fresno, that sort of thing. And the other half, so 150 grams, to be bell peppers or sweet peppers. Make sure they're red because, again, it just helps with the colors here. So you can do that if you do want to spice it down a bit, but I think, honestly, this is perfect. So you've got another choice to make here. I like seeds in my jam. I just think it adds a little something extra to it, but if you do want to take them out, you can. It might be from an aesthetic point of view, or maybe you want to reduce the heat level. But there are quite a few seeds in here, so you can just scrape them out if you want. But like I said, I'm just adding it straight in. Now I have washed these. Make sure you do wash them. You don't want any dirt or anything going inside your jam. And try and take off as much of the stems as you can. Again, more for a color reason than anything else. You're going to want to blend this up to a nice mash, very fine mash. Any old blender will do. A stick blender will work as well. But yeah, you really do want to get this properly blended up. To this, we're just going to add a little bit of vinegar. We don't want too much in here for now, just to help it mash up nicely. You add too much of the vinegar, especially if you have a blender that isn't as strong maybe as a Vitamix or something like that. If you add too much liquid, it's going to battle to actually get it to become that lovely sort of paste. Citric acid, I'm not going to add a ton, well, just under a teaspoon. If you're not using jam sugar, then go with 2.5 teaspoons of citric acid. If you're having the sugar and the pectin separate and you're adding it yourself, yeah, about 2.5 teaspoons per kilogram of sugar. So we've got that. Salt, we can do, again, about a teaspoon. You don't want the heat too high at first. You've got to be careful here. You don't want to burn, well, anything, but especially when you add the sugar. You do not want that burning. Basically, at this point, you're just adding in all the ingredients and just give it a stir. Keep it stirring until it all gets to be liquid, and then you're going to keep stirring even more and making sure that nothing sticks to the bottom and burns. By the way, when you get to the end and your jam sets and it's maybe a bit too thick for your liking, you can reduce the amount of pectin you use. And of course, if it's too thin and you don't like it like that either, then you can add a little bit more pectin. This is about the perfect simmer. You don't want it much more than that. You don't want it foaming up or anything like that, but you can see it's just a little bit of bubbles, and just keep it moving around so you're not getting any sugar stuck to the bottom or burning the chilies or anything like that. And you're going to keep doing this probably about 40 minutes. And what you're doing here is you're getting rid of all the moisture and you're allowing everything to cook as well. It's time to take it off the heat. And hopefully at this stage you have some beautiful looking chili jam in the making. It's still going to take a little while for it to set, around about 12 to 24 hours. It needs to cool down first, and then after that it's going to do its whole setting thing. But within a day, you're going to have some beautiful jam. Now, you still got to make sure you sterilize and sanitize your containers properly and anything else that's going to touch this at this point. So make sure you do that. I have got a video where I talk about sanitizing, sterilizing, and cleaning. Make sure you check that out. Please keep safe. But this is naturally something that will last quite a long time. You should get at least a year out of this on the shelf. Again, if you sterilize and sanitize properly. But if you're a little bit unsure, then just make sure that you stick it in the fridge and use it within a few weeks. It's been 24 hours, and I think it's time for us to check in on the jam. Let's see if it's set. It definitely looks like it has, and look at that. Doesn't that look gorgeous? Beautiful. Yeah, we're just going to have to give it a try now, aren't we? A little bit of a tip while you are cooking this. I didn't go into too much detail while I was doing that. To test whether it is actually ready, whether you should take it off the hob, is to pour a little bit of the jam while it's hot onto a very cold plate. You can stick that plate inside the fridge before you do this. And then what you do is just run your finger along the middle of it. If the jam doesn't come together to fill the gap that your finger just made, then you're doing well. If it's still closing up, then cook it for a little bit longer. Okay, let's give this a taste test. My cayenne or spicy this year. That is amazing. That's delicious. How do I describe the flavor? It's basically like just an absolutely gorgeous jam. It is obviously quite sweet, but I don't typically like a normal jam because of how sweet it is. But when you're offsetting it with a little bit of acidity, because the vinegar does come through it a little bit, and of course the spice, it just makes it taste so good. But it's delicious. Obviously, things that you can use this for, you can just make a sandwich. Peanut butter and jam, or peanut butter and jelly if you're in the US. I think that would be amazing with this. But something I like to use this for is when I have burgers. I will spread this on one side of the bun, and it's an amazing addition to it. Instead of using ketchup or things like that, or relish, this on a burger is just phenomenal. Anyway, I do hope you give this a try. Please let me know in the comments down below if you do. I'm really keen to see if you love it as much as I do. And until the next video, thank you so much for watching and stay spicy. So good.